And we're back for another episode of Standpoint. I'm Gabe Groisman, and we're here at the Republican Jewish Coalition Conference in beautiful Las Vegas. We've got thousands of Jews here, Republicans, conservatives, people who love America, patriots. And the talk of the town this week has been Mamdani in the New York City election. Jews and Republicans and Americans and freedom-loving Americans have been talking about it, eyes open, like, what the hell is happening in New York City? The only person who really knows what's happening in New York City is sitting to my left, my friend Sid Rosenberg. Sid, thanks so much for being here.
It's great to see you, Gabe. You look like $1 million as always. And yes, it is the one political race that has somehow, the mayor race in New York has gained national exposure. No matter where you are, you could be in Judea and Samaria today. They're talking about Mamdani. You can be in Florida today. They're talking about Mamdani. So this is a race everybody's talking about.
So for those who don't know Sid's got a morning show on the radio in New York City, syndicated all across the country. I've been on once. It was a lot of fun, a lot of energy in that studio.
Your sister-in-law's been on a bunch of times.
Yeah, listen, I can't keep up with her. What am I going to do?
Phil is one of the all-time greats.
For sure. And she produces this podcast. She's sitting over there. She pulled Sid out of the dinner to come have this conversation. Help us understand a little bit. When we're outside of New York City, we all visit New York a lot. You know, we all know South Florida and Jewish community. People have a lot of connections with New York. It's a city with the most Jews in the world. Most people don't know it. 1.2 million Jews, give or take, in New York City. Jerusalem has like 600,000 Jews. So greater Tel Aviv is bigger, but Tel Aviv itself is smaller than that. But still, we're seeing so many New Yorkers actually lining up behind Mamdani. When we're on the outside, we're like, there's no way they're going to vote for this guy. He's an open socialist. He's anti-Semitic. He's anti-Israel. He's anti-capitalism in the capital of capital, right? New York City. What are we missing? What's happening in New York City?
Well, you've got a lot of Jews like that in Israel, too. They are the liberal Jews. And, you know, I promised my wife, Gabe, a couple of weeks ago that I would stop being so hard on them because I'm vicious. I believe the liberal Jew right now is our biggest problem. Worse than people like Mamdani or Jewish people that line up for a guy like this. These are the same people, of course, that go to Times Square every night and yell and scream about Bibi Netanyahu. Same people who are in Tel Aviv yelling about him there as well. And they just don't care that much about the state of Israel. They don't. And they look for any way to actually poke him. And this guy, Mamdani, can't stand the Jewish people. He can't stand Israel. So, yes, they're Jewish. They were born Jewish, like Bernie Sanders was born Jewish. He's a horrible Jew. Jamie Raskin was born Jewish, horrible Jew. They're called capos, going back to World War II. And we got a lot of them in New York City. And to stick it to the Jewish people and the real good Jewish people, a guy like him becomes attractive. There's no other explanation. Like you said, he's a bad guy through and through. I describe him in 5 words: jihadist, terrorist, communist, socialist, Marxist. 5 words. Those aren't great words.
No, and I urge people, I wrote a piece about him a few weeks ago, and if you go on his own website, and then you go on the DSA's website, Democrat Socialists of America, just read it, because they say what their positions are, and they're horrific. They're worse than what most people think. But let's zoom out from outside the Jewish community a little bit, too. Manhattan itself, right? I mean, people there, they live off of capitalism. They live off of the jobs that they have. The big corporations in the world that are there, right? It's not just American companies. It's international companies that open headquarters there. They employ almost everybody that's in that city. What are they missing? What did we do wrong? You know, the typical New Yorker to get behind a socialist like that. It's just so surprising for those of us outside of New York.
Well, the guys that have the big money, like my boss, John Katzmatidis, he's into $4 or $5 billion. Bill Ackman's worth about $9 billion. They hate this guy. They're not voting for him. The people that are voting for this guy, how about this 22-year-old girl? She has 2 friends in an apartment in Williamsburg. Williamsburg, Brooklyn is a very trendy place, okay? It's like South Beach, you Florida fans. And she lives in this apartment. She doesn't really have a job. She goes out almost every night. She gets up at 11 o'clock and goes to Starbucks. She's worried because eventually her parents are going to stop paying her rent, which is very, very expensive. She may really have to go to work. And here comes Mamdani. He goes, don't worry about it. Free. I'm going to freeze your rent. This is going to be free. Buses are going to be free. Everything's free. So this young girl goes, oh, I love this guy. You know, President Trump said to me on my show in New York about a month ago, he said, Sid, if I ever ran as a communist I get 80% of the vote. I never lose an election. So this guy is not playing to the Bill Ackmans or the John Catsimatidis. He's playing to that 22, 23-year-old girl and guy, living the dream in New York City, going out every single night, not really working, living in a very nice apartment because he's going to make sure everything is free. That's the highest percentage of the folks voting for Mamdani.
Let me tell you, my family comes from Latin America. My parents are from Argentina. Grandparents are from there too. If you look, finally there we have Milei. We had Macri a couple ago.
Sure.
But the majority of presidents that we had in Argentina and throughout Latin America, same thing, right? There's a promise of socialism, equal everything for everyone. And like my friend Francis Suarez, the mayor of Miami, says, the only equality you get is equal misery when it comes to socialism.
Right. I like him, by the way. And look, you've got other examples. You've got Venezuela. They tried it, didn't go very well. You go back to Fidel Castro in Cuba. He tried it, didn't go very well. So there has been precedent set for these governments that try socialism, that, like you say, everybody's equal and everything is for free. It never works. It never, ever works. And by the way, it's not free because the guys like me who work very, very hard, about 3 o'clock in the morning every day, and I make a good living. Not great. I'm not a billionaire. A good living. I end up paying. And eventually these moronic kids, when they get married and their husbands, they're going to pay too. But right now they're very selfish and very ignorant.
So this is, it's now Saturday night. The election is this week, correct? This show will come out either Sunday or Monday. So it'll be before the election. What are your predictions?
Well, I hate to say it, Gabe. I wish I could tell you that Andrew Cuomo was going to win, even though he was a failed governor. And a lot of people in New York hate him. You know, it's funny. Everybody who votes for Cuomo goes, I hate him, but. Could you imagine that? You know, Trump, they love him. Right? Cuomo, I hate him, but he's better than the other guy. Curtis Lewa's got no chance. So I'd like to tell you that Andrew Cuomo is going to be the next mayor of New York, but I can't. Gun to my head right now, Mamdani is the next mayor of New York City. I think Cuomo made it closer the last couple of days. For a while there, I thought he'd win by double digits. Now I think he may win by 7 or 8. But either way, I strongly believe that Mamdani will be the next mayor in New York.
So my biggest concern if he wins as mayor, Sid, is the police, right? If there's no public safety, there's nothing, right? There's who cares if there's free buses, even for the socialists, who, you know, or his position even on Israel or on the Jewish community. If people are unsafe, it all goes to hell, right? The NYPD, he's been very critical of. He was part of the defund the police movement. He's spoken discussing about it. People talk about this quote. They're focusing more on the Jewish part, but he talks about when the NYPD has their boot on the neck of New Yorkers, their boots are laced by the IDF. But even removing the IDF part, just talking about the NYPD in that way, I can't see the NYPD actually working for him. What do you see as far as public safety goes? What are the big risks if and when Mamdani wins? Let's say if Mamdani wins.
Well, it's a big deal because a lot of these cops are going to leave. Bottom line is a lot of our best officers are going to leave. I do believe, though, that he may get a big one in Jessica Tisch. I like Jessica. I think she's a great police commissioner. I haven't spoken to her directly about this, but the rumors are that she's going to stick around. So if he can go to work day one and have Jessica Tisch, that's very good for him. But the cops don't like him at all. He gave the finger to the cops. He talked about the IDF lacing up the boots. He has said some horrible things about the cops in the past. He's walked a lot of that back the last couple of months because, why? He's running for office in New York City, and you can't malign the cops and win. So don't worry about what he said the last couple of months. What you heard years ago and months ago, that's the real Mamdani, not the guy now that all of a sudden, no, I like him. I'll add social workers, but I like cops too. No, he doesn't. Doesn't like cops. He doesn't like law and order. He doesn't like Jewish people. He doesn't like capitalism. He doesn't like anything that we love and hold dear in our country. And the cops, that'll be a big issue in New York City.
So we'll hold our breath this week. We have Elise Stefanik, who everybody loves in our community, at least in the conservative community, the Jewish community around the country. In New York City, who knows? But she's running for governor, and hopefully, at least if he wins, that gives propels her.
I mean, she hasn't announced it yet. I think she's waiting for him to win to officially announce it. But it's a worst kept secret.
The worst kept secret. Everybody knows.
She's going to run, and I think she can win. Not easy to beat Kathy Hochul, who was a horrible governor. Horrible. You talk about Gavin Newsom in California, J.B. Pritzker in Illinois. She's right with him. But that's what New York votes for. But Elise has a real shot at winning that race. And if she does, like you said, you get Elise Stefanik in Albany. You've got President Trump in Washington, D.C. Both of those people have more power than the mayor of New York City. So the idea that he's going to ruin everything because, let me say this to you on the way out, he doesn't have the power to do about 80% of the things he says he's going to do. Doesn't have legislative power. So if you have Stefanik running the state and Trump running the country, could be a long 4 years. And me on the radio, a long 4 years for Mamdani.
So last question I want to ask you, Sid, is after October 7th, you took all this incredible energy you have and started, and not that you didn't do it before, but you really took fighting for the Jewish people and for Israel. You visited Israel many times. I was there with you a couple of those times, but you just keep going back. You keep fighting it. Tell me what woke up inside you on that October 7th or the days after for you to take this on as part of your mission.
If you're a human being and you love other human beings, I don't care if you're Jewish or not, okay? And you saw what our people went through. Babies burned alive, young girls raped and then murdered in front of their parents, parents murdered, little kids, their eyeballs taken out. I lived in New York during 9/11, and we're coming up on 25 years. To me, that's one of the biggest tragedies here is that we're going to commemorate 25 years of 9/11 with the real possibility that Mamdani is going to be mayor. He sat with a guy named Hassan Piker who said America deserved 9/11 and said nothing in return, nothing. I got to say that October 7th was worse because the atrocities were so brutal. I mean, yes, you're inside a building, jet fuel is going to burn you alive. You decide to jump from 90 floors instead. It's pretty brutal. But October 7th was one of the most grotesque, tragic days in the history of the world. And being a Jewish boy, always a proud Jewish boy, never very religious, I just felt like I had to be there for those people. I was sitting on my couch watching the Giants play the Jets Sunday, October 8th, and it occurred to me that even though I was a proud Jew, I wasn't a strong enough, aggressive, active Jew. And I said to myself that day, I'd never been to Israel in my whole life, 56 years old. I said, I'm going. And I've been there 4 times since. I just think that most people, not just Jews, but even Christians, look back at the history of that day and the horrible things that these lovely people went through. And I think it changed everybody. I really do. For good and bad. Because people like me fell in love again with my religion and my people. And the people that hate us even more. Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
For good and bad, that day changed everybody to make us love us more and even hate us more.
Well, we've been cheering you on since we're Miami guys. I was telling you we listened to Paul Castronova and Young Ron
I
Brewer
love him too.
as the morning show's not in New York, but we all became fans watching you with the New York brand, sort of strong, unapologetic, in your face, which is something we all need. And just to tie it all together, when you look at these young lost New Yorkers, those are the same people. So many of them, the ones that are voting for Mamdani are the same ones that are out there marching against Israel for Hamas. It's an indictment on really a whole generation, maybe even on us, on how this generation was raised. But we can't throw our hands in the air. We got to fight back and then also try to fix things so we can make our country a better place. So thank you for all you're doing, Sid Rosenberg. Thanks for jumping out of the dinner.
Come on,
you're doing a great episode.
You're a great guy. This guy's a great guy. This Gabe Groisman. And he's handsome. He's got great hair. Wish I had hair like that.
So make sure you watch. You don't just listen. You got to watch so you get the videos. Thank you so much, Sid Rosenberg. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, do all the great things you do to support podcasts, and we'll see you next time.
See you.